this is just an example because we just talked about a cut and pain, and the Quran gives us many things. In fact, the Quran says something like this: have the unbelievers not known or seen that the heavens and the earth and the skies, the cosmos and the earth was joined together as one piece, and then the Creator parted it asunder, and He made every living thing from water. And it ends with saying, would they then not believe? Within this statement, what we find is the address is not to the Muslims, address is to the people who are non-believers. It says, have the unbelievers, non-believers not sinned? And then at the end it says, would they then not believe? Meaning in between, there are some information given to ponder and reflect to make up this mind to believe. And what we find is, within that particular reference, two phenomena are described. One about the common origin of our universe, that the universe and the earth was joined together as one piece at one point in history, which is what our understanding is of our earth and our solar system and our cosmos, and that every living thing is made from water. And I mean, this is another reality that we know. Life is water-based. Most of it is, more than 70% is cytoplasm, is water. So this information, if you think about it, Quran was given to a man in a desert 1440 something years ago, who has never been to underneath a dead volcano where living organisms are still microscopic and still living, and how their constituents are, whether they're water-based or not. Haven't been into the depth of the oceans, underneath the oceans 1440 years ago, because you can't really dive that far into the oceans to understand the life at the bottom of the sea and what are the constituents of. So to make a claim that every living thing is made from water, it's really a fantastic claim to make, and yet we know that that is the case. In our world, our life is based on this. And yes, our world that we see, that we live in, the earth that we live in, was actually a part of the solar system, the part of the whole cosmos. So there's two pieces of information, one from astrophysics and one from biology, addressed to the non-believers, atheists, agnostics, people of reason, people of intellect, whoever they are. And it's just simply saying, would they not believe? So this is how the Quran, this is the book that we believe, has been given from our Creator through Prophet Muhammad for the people to live their life, to know what their purpose is in this life, so that we can be successful here and we can be successful in the hereafter. Have you read the Quran before? Would you be interested to go and read now, having that introduction? I mean, I would.
Read a few passages. I mean, I do think, whether or not you believe any particular faith, there's lessons to be taken from every faith.
Do you know our concept of faith and religions in general? We believe there is one Creator, and this one Creator doesn't punish a nation here or hereafter unless the Creator tells them what they're supposed to do, because the Creator is just and merciful. So this Creator has sent guides, warners, prophets and messengers throughout all times, because He's just and merciful. But what has happened is, over the passage of time, people have changed the same message of that Creator and distorted that message, and this distortion became into different religion. Originally it was one message, the message of pure submission to the Creator, and in Arabic it is Islam. If you are one who submits, you are a Muslim. So the same message was there throughout times, to all nations, to all peoples, but people, because of their whims and desires, or their particular alliance or something, they distorted or changed the message. And even to one nation, there came more than one warners at one point in history to bring them back to the guidance. As Muslims, Prophet Muhammad, we believe, is the finality of those prophets and messengers. He's not the first, but he's the last of all of them. And the Quran being the last of all the divinely revealed scripture or book from God, guidance from God. So when you see what about all the other religions, the other religions were rooted in either originally divine religion and then got distorted, or some of them could be totally man-made. People just made up these religions because that's how they wanted to live their life and govern their lives.
Do you reckon humans could just sort of like work out amongst themselves what's right and wrong without having a god? Like this guy said, he's trying to like pick up good ideas from all over the place.
Okay, is euthanasia right or wrong?
It depends on the circumstances, I suppose.
Can you get all people agree that yes, actually euthanasia is right or euthanasia is good? Or are you going to get people who are going to be always disputing?
Yeah, but disputing is part of the dispute, isn't it? That's part of the discussion.
When we want to establish between right and wrong, we don't want any dispute. We want to know something is right and we want to know something is wrong.
Something can be right to you and wrong to me, but that's the beauty of being human, isn't it?
But when we talk about the objective morality, if the Creator created us for a purpose, He would need to, also from His mercy, He will tell us what is objectively acceptable as a right and what is objectively not acceptable as something which is wrong.
So
for example,
where do you fall on the euthanasia debate then? For you, is it right or wrong?
euthanasia, which is assisted killing.
Yeah?
No.
Is it, in your eyes, it is wrong? So worst case, someone is suffering and will spend years slowly suffering.
Give them painkillers.
So you think it's more right for them to live on painkillers, on strong
Who
medication?
gives us right to take away life of other human being?
The other human beings, given consent to have their life taken.
Do we have the right to take our own life?
Well, if we don't have the right to do that, then
surely
that's the most basic right to
suicide?
the tones of
Suicide is a concept in which one takes their own life.
Yeah.
Is suicide acceptable in UK, for example?
That's twisting the question. That's twisting the question.
No. I'm talking about the right of life to take away or not. So do I have the right to take my own life away?
View it as I don't think I would ever view it as an option, but that's just me. And as I said, I've not experienced the lowest low depths that a human can go to in terms of despair. So I can't say, suicide's right or wrong. It's like just because it's not an option for me, somebody may have suffered tremendously, and it may be what they view as their only option, as opposed to living, if they turn 50 and are so miserable, so miserable, and they are sure it's never going to get better, they're staring at 30, 40 years of just living in pain, constant waking up every day pain. Doesn't sound very pleasant to me at all.
We have a lot of painkillers to use to make them pain-free. But what I want to address is this point. What if the next day, by a revolution in science, we actually cured that individual, but we made them to die because of assisted euthanasia,
Because
and then the family will say,
No, they wouldn't.
I will.
If somebody has a conversation where they say, euthanasia is the option I want to go with, I guarantee that every person that says that will be given a talk saying, we are doing research into your condition. The research is this far along. We anticipate that there may be significant progress in this many years. Are you still sure you want to go down this road? If they haven't been given that talk, that's medical negligence, and that is wrong. But given all that information, if they still choose euthanasia, I think that's their choice.
But what we are talking about is who has the right to take away someone else's right. Either, if it's, for example, if someone commits a crime, and because of the crime, the punishment is a death penalty, it's by legislation different. So we are talking about legislating euthanasia, like if...
I personally don't agree with the death penalty. I think there are far better ways to deal with serious crimes than killing the perpetrator. That's I draw the line there. But that calling the death penalty legislated euthanasia is just miles off the definition.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How do we give right to any profession or anybody to take someone else's life away? For example, do we give the right to every individual to take their own life away?
Every individual has that right. What are you gonna seriously?
So why is suicide a crime? Considered a crime in most societies?
I don't know. That's not something I've ever pondered. So
Think
I
about it.
couldn't, you know.
That's fair enough. Think about it. So in Islam, we don't consider that life that we have is something that is, intrinsically mine itself. I was given life as a, you can say, what's this called? Particular word for it. Like a trust.
Sure.
I have to dispense this trust, look after my life, and I shouldn't take away from my life. It's not mine. It's not mine to begin with. I was given it to look after it, and I will be, I will die one day.
By that logic, somebody that is suffering and will continue to suffer for a very long time.
We alleviate the suffering as much as we can.
And if we can do nothing, and they will still suffer, they will be in agony despite all the medication that you give them.
This is a discussion that can happen again. Look, I gave you my personal understanding of it.
But
But what I'm saying is because there's always room and always possibility of curing someone. So it doesn't seem fit to take away of life of someone when there's a possibility that by a scientific revolution that person can be cured the next day. That is why in any hospital
if they're given the same talk that you
it's
just
not
gave
about
me,
given, because we don't know the medical breakthrough when it can happen. Many times, scientific revolution, the nature of it is like this. It just doesn't happen gradually. Scientific revolutions happen like this. If there's a whole book you can read about the nature of scientific revolution, where
but they don't say, we know that there will be a breakthrough in 30 years and there won't be any progress before then. They're balancing probability and say, you know what, based on how long it's taken in the past, it will probably take about 30 years before we have that breakthrough. And then, the cure will progress at a really quick rate. But until then, until the breakthrough, which we expect to be...
Do you know patients with cancer? Because in the terminal illness, they are given a lot of pain control medicines to alleviate their pain, to make sure that they're actually pain-free, to have their quality of life as they are dying.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of painkillers, different types of painkillers, in which we try to make them...
I'm sure that there are a lot of people that has helped live with dignity whilst their life is ending, but there are also a lot of people that say, I would rather die than take these. And if they're not given that option, and you're saying that they can't take their own life, then you're saying they've been put on this earth to suffer, and that is...
No, I'm not saying they should suffer. I'm saying they should not suffer. They should be given. They should be given all.
Their suffering is taking their own life.
Okay, so some people. Okay, now to what degree one says I can't cope life, and that's it. Oh, you know what? I've broken up with my girlfriend. Oh, and I got a divorce from my wife or my husband. I said take my life away because I can't bear it. Because people's threshold of suffering is different. Some people can really, embrace this suffering to such a degree that you and I wouldn't be able to. So are we saying that, in an individual level, whoever just says, you know what, I can't bear it anymore, and that's it, take my life away, Islam considers totally differently. Islam, in fact, says there is nothing that the Creator puts on your shoulder which is greater than you to bear. This is a principle Islam provides, that God does not burden a soul greater than they can bear. It means it's all within their mechanism.
I imagine if you went to talk to people who are terminally ill and said, do you think you can handle this? You're not going to get
There are many terminally ill Muslims that happily will accept the pain. Accept the pain. No, I'm giving you the opposite. You will find many Muslims in the hospitals and terminally with severe problems and pain, and they will happily say, okay, I'm fine and content with I am, because I can bear it.
I applaud them for, quite frankly, that I'm genuinely not sure that I could do the same.
But that's what I'm saying. People are different, but what we want to elevate this level of understanding of people. That yes, there's a threshold that we can increase in our understanding of life. We shouldn't just take our life just like that, just because we have a low threshold. We should really work hard and be responsible.
I don't think anybody really ever takes their life on a whim. I think telling people that they felt bad and then just took their own life, that's almost incredibly disrespectful to say.
But it happens. It happens because of culture, because of their brainwashing or conditioning, rather, of what's happening with them, because they see all these movies and all these games and all these social media interactions. They're saying it's okay. They even glorify taking their own life away. So this is social condition.
I strongly disagree with that. I don't think anybody's ever glorified suicide. that feels very disrespectful to people who've lost people to that. That doesn't feel very pleasant to say.
Perhaps you can, as far as I know, people in Japan, for example, which has the highest suicide rate, find out why they're committing suicide. Is it something that was unbearable? To you, it will be bearable perhaps, but to them it's not bearable because the threshold has become so low for them. They've taken to make that threshold to such a low. It's that like
it's a threshold that you consider low, but who's to say that they would look at the reason that
But
Westerners commit suicide and they'd say, well, I could deal with that.
What I'm saying is they have been conditioning themselves to make that threshold to such that they can't bear it any further. In fact, when the conditioning...
Everybody's conditioned to how much suffering they can take.
This is my point. We need to re-evaluate our understanding of life and suffering, pain and happiness, and increase our threshold and understand the purpose of our life in which there will be. In fact, the Quran tells us that, do you think that the Creator created you and it's going to lift you like this without being tested? We will be tested. We will be tested by some loss of life, loss of health, loss of fruits, some pain, and so on and so forth.
The key word there is using some. There are examples of it being ridiculous. So people lose everything. And that to me is not the sign of anyone doing something benevolent.
But we are now arguing or discussing about severe exceptions. Severe exceptions are always exceptions to the rules. But in general, the understanding, the outlook of our life should be as such that, yes, we should be responsible people to have this threshold in which we should appreciate that, okay, pain and the suffering is for a reason. We should not inflict that to others. We should not inflict it on ourselves. And we should try to minimize as much as we can to live a life in which we can fulfill our purpose. That is the message of the Quran. And the Quran, if you look at it, it does give you this coherent understanding that because it's linked to a higher purpose. The purpose is to live this life and pass the test. It's a test. If it wasn't a test, then you should be questioning why is there suffering, why is there all this pain here.
This question that I ask
but it's a test. It's a test. It's a test to determine whether we are one deserving to go to paradise or not. Because when we are created by endowed with free will, did we use our free will responsibly? Because otherwise, having free will, some people use it wisely, some people don't. Some people kill, some people don't kill, and the outcome should be the same for both of them. It doesn't make sense. The murderer and the murdered, the rapist and the victim, the outcome shouldn't be the same. So that's why the test is there, so that we live our life with these do's and don'ts, in which there is no, objective morality, given, explained, and implemented, so that then we can say yes. I've done enough of my actions in this life, and I hope in the mercy of my God, because God is so merciful and so gracious that He has promised that He will be graceful to me and give me paradise in the hereafter, or Jannah, heaven in the hereafter. And this I can appreciate it and I can understand. It makes sense to me. So rather than living a life in which I am not sure, I am confused, or I am totally arrogant or stubborn, there can be a whole spectrum of my state of being. But what I should be instead, one of being submissive to my Creator. Not submissive to a nation, a flag, or a pop star, or a celebrity, but surrendering my will to no one but to the Creator. That is what Islam is, that is what a Muslim is. Someone who willingly, sincerely, humbly submits and surrenders their will to the will of the Creator. Willingly.
Sure. I mean, if that teaching allows you to me, you seem like a decent person. I'm sure you try and do more good than bad in your life. If that teaching is the cause of that, then I'd say it's a very good teaching for you to follow, and I applaud you for using it in that manner.
I invite you to this line of teaching. Please do reflect and see whether this is something that you can adapt to your own self. Because once you know the truth, that actually is truth in there. Because what I haven't touched on, apart from this one example to reflect on about the pain and pain receptors, the Quran itself gives us evidence to justify our belief that there is a Creator, that this Creator has given us this guidance. When you look at the life of the Prophet, this messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it convinces us that he is indeed the agent of God who's come to tell us about how to live this life and what to expect of the hereafter. If you do the same thing, then you can also be, within the grasp of this truth and the reality. Because the reality is, there is a hereafter. It's not just a matter of question and opinion. That's what the reality is. The Creator told us. But how far are we to explore and to accept is up to us individually. In the discussion that we had today with you, my friend, what's your name?
Barnaby.
Barnaby.
Yep.
It's just to ignite within you thoughts and reflections so that you can take it further and you can then, embrace that truth once you establish that this indeed is the truth.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about. So, I'll give you that one.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Barnaby,
thank you
it's
very
been a
much.
pleasure speaking to you. You take care. Okay?
Cheers.
Yeah. Do read the Quran. It's available online. Do you need a physical copy? I can get you one.
I've got internet and phone, etc.
Yeah. And look what it has to say. Look what it says about you and so on and so forth.
Cheers, man.
Take care. Pleasure.